Hello, my friends. Like I announced today that my channel was very difficult to be found in the YouTube community, so I had to change it to Eritrea here and now instead of being here and now. And right now, you can type that one and then look at the YouTube. You will find it very easily. You know, man, the Arab Emirates that kind of arrogance in our region should never have existed. It should never have come to our neighborhood to disturb everything. Look where it's located at. In the Persian Gulf. It had nothing to do with the Red Sea. But as you know, it had been the main cause of problems in the Sudan by backing up a rebel group against the Sudanese government, which is threatening Sudan now into division, probably into two countries that would affect Egyptians because their country is bordered with Sudan. Okay, here we go. If something is wrong in the Sudan, Eritrea will be in trouble. Will be in trouble because Eritrea is also a neighboring country to the Sudan. But that's not only things that it did. It came to Somalia. It wanted to be in Somalia also. Check out in the region what kind of problems it's causing. To encircle Eritrea, then it's been teaming up with Abiy government to cause problems, even to the extent of going to the Red Sea. All this greed, all this adventurous environment had to cause alarm in the minds of President Isaias Afwerki, and he had to do some beautiful, beautiful diplomatic work to control his momentum and the peace in the region. So what did he do? We're going to go and discuss. There is a tip, ladies and gentlemen, educational tip, and then I will discuss my own opinion. Thank you. Okay. All right.
A quiet but significant power shift is unfolding along the Red Sea. Eritrea, long known for its fierce independence, is now openly challenging the United Arab Emirates' growing influence. This isn't just a minor dispute, it's a calculated move that could realign the region's balance of power. Eritrea is making it clear it won't be a pawn in anyone's game. The UAE has spent years building ports and military bases, using its wealth to shape politics across the Red Sea. Eritrea was once a key partner, but now that partnership has soured. President Isaias Afwerki is denouncing foreign military bases, sending a direct message to the UAE. Eritrea's new stance is more than words. It's backed by actions, shifting alliances, and seeking new partners. This bold stand injects unpredictability into an already volatile region, forcing neighbors like Saudi Arabia, Ethiopia, and Sudan to reconsider their positions. The Horn of Africa is a high-stakes chessboard, and Eritrea's move could trigger a domino effect. At its core, this is about sovereignty. Eritrea is showing that even smaller nations can shape their own destiny. By leveraging its strategic location, Eritrea is stepping out of isolation and demanding a seat at the table. Its decision to confront the UAE signals a new era. Eritrea intends to be a key player, not a bystander. This assertion of independence is now driving a flurry of diplomatic activity across the region.
Well, especially the Red Sea, ladies and gentlemen, because the Red Sea, Eritrea owns part of the Red Sea. I mean, who is that country coming all the way from the Persian Gulf and trying to control the Red Sea at the expense of Eritrea's sovereignty, especially teaming up with Ethiopia, a country that has the ambition to go across the line into invading Eritrea and recapturing Assad, basically dismantling the Eritrean nationhood as such. Who would permit it like that? The disintegration in the Sudan, especially from the interest of the country itself. Eritrea cannot afford to allow this kind of political adventurism in the region. So let's see what they did, what the Eritreans did.
The Red Sea is one of the world's most critical maritime trade routes. Every day, vast amounts of oil and goods pass through its narrow channel, connecting Europe and Asia. Any disruption here can instantly impact the global economy, delaying shipments, raising costs, and affecting prices worldwide. Security in the Red Sea is a global concern, threatened by piracy, terrorism, and regional conflicts. The ongoing war in Yemen and the rivalry between the UAE and Saudi Arabia have turned these waters into a potential flashpoint. Stability along the Red Sea coast, Eritrea, Sudan, Djibouti, Yemen, is crucial for safe passage. When these nations are unstable or become battlegrounds for larger powers, the risk to global trade skyrockets. Eritrea's pushback against the UAE is a stark reminder. What happens here can send shockwaves across the world. The stakes are simply too high for this lifeline to be compromised. Eritrea has always fiercely guarded its sovereignty, often at the cost of isolation. President Afwerki's government is deeply suspicious of outside influence, shaping a foreign policy built on self-reliance. Yet Eritrea is pragmatic. It knows its Red Sea location is a valuable asset. The country is engaged with foreign powers when it serves its interests, forming and dissolving alliances as needed. A prime example, Eritrea allowed the UAE to build a major military base at Assab, supporting the UAE's Yemen campaign in exchange for financial and political benefits. But as the UAE scaled down its Yemen operations and withdrew from Assab, Eritrea's calculus changed. The partnership's benefits faded, and Eritrea began to criticize foreign bases, signaling a shift. This isn't a return to isolationism, it's a strategic realignment. Eritrea is now seeking new arrangements that better serve its current needs. This pattern, engagement, disengagement, realignment, is the hallmark of Eritrean foreign policy.
Well, like any country, Eritrea has to be flexible. It has to be resilient. It has to protect its interests. There is no everlasting politics. There is no everlasting brotherhood or friendship in politics. So you got to play your games. The question is, if Isaias played the dice very well, did he win or did he lose? In such a short time, did he make a beautiful protection for his country, diplomatically speaking, or what? Let's see.
Eritrea's moves are always calculated, leveraging geography and timing to maximize its advantage. The latest pivot is just the newest chapter in this ongoing balancing act. Recent events have forced Eritrea to counter the UAE's influence. The end of the Tigray War and Ethiopia's claims on Eritrea's Assab port alarmed Asmara, threatening its sovereignty. At the same time, the UAE ramped up arms shipments to Ethiopia, backing a neighbor making territorial claims against Eritrea. This was seen as a direct threat, turning a former partner into a potential adversary. In Sudan, the UAE's support for the RSF clashed with Eritrea's backing of the Sudanese armed forces, deepening the rift. The UAE's actions in both Ethiopia and Sudan left Eritrea feeling encircled and threatened. The benefits of partnership evaporated, replaced by direct challenges to Eritrea's security.
I would feel very insecure if I was Eritrean too, although yes, I am an Eritrean, but coming here to neutrally decide whatever is my mind telling me and then telling you and sharing it with you. Coming out, discussing the whole thing. If this country is a Sudan trying to make problems, Eritrea will be directly affected because it's a neighbor. If it comes to Somalia, the same thing will happen because eventually it will interfere in the Red Sea routing anyway. That is the problem. Coming to Ethiopia and trying to go to Assad. This is crazy. This is so crazy. Therefore, Eritrea had to act. It was emergency. Emergency situation, basically. Ethiopia has waged war against Eritrea. And now this country is also waging another war indirectly. You understand what I'm saying? By backing Ethiopia to go as far as crossing the red line and invade Eritrea and recapture Assab into its territory. This was extraordinarily crazy, and we had to do something in it. Let me show you something. If you check this out, you go to Yemen. It had nothing to do in Yemen to create problems in Oman. But these countries are also closely related to Saudi Arabia because they have the same, common borders. So trying to divide Yemen directly affects Saudi Arabia. Coming to Ethiopia, supporting Ethiopia directly negatively affects our country, Eritrea. And then supporting the faction army in Sudan and disintegrating Sudan affects Eritrea and Egypt directly. Therefore, a good strategy, reshuffling, reconfiguration has to be done, and I do think the president of Eritrea did it very well. He played the political dice so good. Let's go.
President Afwerki's government concluded that pushing back was a necessity for survival. Eritrea began seeking new alliances, especially with Saudi Arabia, to counter the UAE's regional ambitions. The shift is a direct response to existential threats on multiple fronts. The Saudi-UAE rivalry is now at the heart of Red Sea turmoil. Once close allies, the two Gulf powers are now competitors, each seeking dominance over strategic ports and trade routes. In Yemen, the UAE backs the Southern Transitional Council, challenging
it doesn't make any sense.
Saudi-backed unity efforts. In Sudan,
well, here, Saudi must be affected directly, of course, because this little country is coming there trying to divide its neighboring country, the Yemenis.
Saudi Arabia supports the official armed forces, while the UAE backs the RSF, fueling a devastating civil war.
Well, here we're talking about a lot of things. The Sudanese government is a legitimate government of the country that all countries under the United Nations law must recognize and work with. Therefore, in this situation, the Arab Emirates have nothing to do here except disturbing the whole region. So Eritrea took a beautiful defensive politics.
Eritrea has aligned with the Saudi-Egyptian camp, viewing the UAE-backed RSF as a threat. Feeling threatened by the UAE's moves in Ethiopia and Sudan, Eritrea has turned to Saudi Arabia as a counterweight. The December 2025 meeting between President Afwerki and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman signaled this new alignment. Eritrea offered Saudi Arabia preferential access to Assab port, giving Riyadh a strategic foothold to counter the UAE. The rivalry is now pulling Eritrea directly into the region's power struggle. The Horn of Africa's alliances are shifting at breakneck speed. Eritrea's pivot from the UAE to Saudi Arabia was cemented in
if you see this map, ladies and gentlemen, the Red Sea is owned by all these countries, including Saudi Arabia and Eritrea. So both of them can be more responsible to this common Red Sea instead of UAE coming from the Persian Gulf and trying to dominate their seas. So it was important for Egypt, Sudan, Eritrea, and Saudi Arabia to kick it out of the region. And eventually that's what happened.
December 2025 summit in Riyadh. Days later, Saudi Arabia hosted Sudan's military leader, reinforcing a new bloc. Saudi Arabia, Eritrea, and the Sudanese armed forces united against the UAE-backed RSF. These back-to-back meetings sent a clear message: a new coalition is forming to counter the UAE's agenda. Even more surprising, Eritrea is now engaging with its former enemy, the TPLF, as both face threats from Ethiopia.
Well, before I get there, this is the beauty of the Eritrean politics, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, kick it out of the region. The Arab Emirates has nothing to do with that region except polluting it. Problems. We know that it's ripping off Africans, taking a lot of gold from Ethiopia and all the way from deep South Africa. Actually, I'm not talking about South Africa, but southern portion of Africa. What is it trying to do? At whose expense? All these problems for what? And how big is it anyway? Why is it killing so many Africans, supporting different kind of civil wars? Why is it disturbing the Ethiopians? First of all, does it care about African lives? I don't think so. This is a very racist, extremely racist, prejudiced nation. And the guy that Lynn said is a lunatic, like Abiy. They're just trying to destroy the whole thing. Therefore, the Egyptians, the East Africans in general, the Sudanese, Eritreans, The Djiboutians and Somalians cannot afford to have this country playing its misadventure. So, recently, we watched the Saudi Arabians destroying its forces in Yemen, which is beautiful, very effective, and it's out of Yemen. And now the Somalian government has kicked it out completely, gone already. In Sudan, it has no place. Eritrea has no place. In Egypt, it has no place. So it's just hanging out with Abiy. Abiy is the only person hanging out with this guy. A loser, really a loser, because his recent traveling to Djibouti was followed by a secret travel to the Emirates. He went there to meet and discuss with his master, ladies and gentlemen, but beautiful politics, diplomacy has been put on the ground by the Eritrean government to exclude this enemy, common enemy of Africans and the whole Red Sea community out of the way. So I do think diplomacy was very beautifully played. The Eritrean government weighed all its options, and bringing the Saudi Arabia into Eritrea, into Assab, shouldn't be a problem because they are neighbors anyway. It would cause a lot of problems, as it would cause giving this country a base in our country. So, in other words, Eritrea became victorious, and its beautiful diplomacy worked out to the point that this country is not coming to that area, okay? Out of Yemen, out of Somalia, and definitely it will be out of Sudan too eventually. And then the whole Red Sea community will be controlled by the countries that own the Red Sea. And this situation, the big loser to my idea, to my understanding, is Abiy. My ideas tell me, my concepts tell me, ladies and gentlemen, my thoughts tell me that Abiy has lost momentum in this situation. He cannot be in the equilibrium, okay? He took a very big chance siding with this country. He thought he could fulfill his master's ambitions and finally finds himself hanging in there by himself as a loser.
Ethiopia's government. Old foes are becoming allies, driven by shared interests and shifting threats. Eritrea seeks protection from Ethiopia, Saudi Arabia wants to curb the UAE, and the TPLF needs regional backing.
Eritrea convincing the Tigrays, and the Tigrays being aware of the fact that Abiy wants to destroy them based on the genocidal experience they had in the last fights, and teaming up with Eritrea to protect themselves from the common enemy was a fantastic diplomatic work on people-to-people level of the relationship.
Alliances are fluid and transactional. Today's enemy can be tomorrow's partner. The enemy of my enemy is my friend has never been more true. Every player is making calculated moves to adapt to the new reality. The region's political map is being redrawn in real time. Eritrea's realignment is reshaping the Red Sea, and the world should take notice. The immediate risk instability along a vital shipping lane, with rival blocs increasing their military presence and proxy conflicts. Any incident could disrupt global supply chains, spike oil prices, and rattle economies worldwide. The Ethiopia-Eritrea standoff, now fueled by Gulf backers, risks escalating into a wider war with catastrophic consequences. For global powers, this new landscape complicates diplomacy. Old partners like the UAE are now seen as sources of instability. The world's superpowers must navigate these rivalries while trying to prevent new conflicts.
Oh, we just hope so. I just hope all world powers will realize this. If they need stability and peaceful coexistence with the Red Sea nations, Eritrea cannot be a problem because its record of peacefulness inside the country, stability, and its tactics of connecting the political dots in the East African, very rugged politics, well, should be advantageous for her to control certain things substantially. As far as the East African politics and the Red Sea politics is concerned, the world has come to recognize Eritrea's independent and consistent position on these things. And Abiy Ahmed ended up being a loser, to my understanding. So I give a lot of credit to the Eritrean government. I give a lot of credit to the Sudanese too for doing what they did before it becomes too late. And then I hope the Egyptians, the Eritreans, the Sudanese, especially if they find a solution in the Sudan, which eventually they will, I do believe so, because the relationship between Egypt, Eritrea, and Saudi Arabia is very tight. They want to end that war. So at the end of the day, if Sudan is okay, the whole region may have a chance of revival, may have a chance of renaissance. You understand what I'm saying? Like, they can just come out of the gutters they've been in. They can just come out and life can start in the Sudan. And the Ethiopians can start their lives too, because Ethiopia has become a big victim of this guy's misadventure, actions and policies. Therefore, I do think the Eritrean strategy worked at the end of the day. And then we would like to see a lot of changes 2026 so the Eritreans can feel secure enough to concentrate inside the country. Few changes that have been stunning because of complications with Ethiopia. And I hope Ethiopians will get peace too. Beautiful strategy. It worked. And what can I say? I love peace. If Eritrea, if Sudan is peaceful, at that point, we will all be peaceful too. Eritrea will be peaceful. South Sudanese will be peaceful. Ethiopians will be as peaceful. And we hope the Yemenis will have some kind of peace at the end of the day. But the Red Sea has to be peaceful. And America has no choice except getting into this and then supporting the whole thing that's going on. Eritrea and America have no conflict and should never have any conflict here. There shouldn't be any memories. Ladies and gentlemen, 2026, I'd like to see some good connection between Americans. I want them to get into this debt and resolve the problems in the Sudan so we can have a good coexistence mentally and physically. I'll see you next time. And then I expect you to appreciate it. If you like it, share it and subscribe. Till next time.